Let's raise the big questions on that big story. Is democracy once again on the brink, in danger in Nepal? Are the protests organic or are they orchestrated? Is this revolution or is this anarchy? Army rule, interim government or elections now? Nepal staring at prolonged uncertainty, and how will that affect India? Joining me now, three very special guests, joined by Rakesh Sood, former Indian ambassador to Nepal, someone who knows that country very well. Joined by Amitabh Battu, Dean and Professor, School of International Studies at JNU. Yuvraj Ghimire, journalist and writer who's been based in Kathmandu for years, but is at the moment in the national capital. I appreciate all three of you joining us. I want to come to you, Yuvraj, first. Okay, we'll come to Yuvraj in a moment, but let me go to Rakesh Sood for your first remarks. Rakesh Sood, how are you seeing this situation unfolding in Nepal? We could see the 10th government there in 11 years. Is this surprising, or is chronic instability now built into Nepal?
Thank you, Rajdeep. And I can say that having spent 3 years of my career in Nepal, I feel very sad when I see this. But the fact is that since 2008, since 2008 when monarchy was abolished, and we had the first Constituent Assembly creating a new constitution for Nepal. Since then, we've had 15 prime ministers. So that's 17 years, 15 prime ministers. If we look at the constitution, which was adopted in 2015, 10 years ago, since 2015, we've had 9 governments, which means in the last 10 years, we've only had 9 governments. And the prime ministers has been a game of musical chairs. It's been the same people. It's been the Maoist leader Prachand. It's been Krishna Prasad Sharma Oli, the UML leader who is now resigned and has been asked to continue as caretaker, and it's been Sher Bahadur Deoba. And I think what we are seeing is not just a rejection of Oli and Oli's government. What we are seeing is a rejection of that particular class of political leadership which have prevented, including in their own political parties, youngsters to come up. Which is why people are looking towards Balen Shah, who's a young mayor of Kathmandu. Balen Shah is a former rapper in his 30s, goes around 24/7 with dark glasses, black trousers. But Balen Shah also, by the way, kept his peace. And it is only now, when the violence is getting out of control, that Balen Shah is trying to claim leadership of this movement. There was somebody else, by the way, I just saw Rabi Lamichhane, who was a former TV personality. And Rabi Lamichhane joined the government as deputy prime minister, got caught in a corruption scandal, was in jail. And just a couple of hours ago, his supporters went to the jail, got him released, because the jail authorities said we can't ensure peace and security in the jail. So he's now gone home. Now, so there is a populism that has taken hold. And I think you know as well as I do that when populism takes hold and there is no leadership, there is no control, we don't know how this is going to unfold.
Let me for a moment bring in also Amitabh Battu, who's just written a column on what's happening there. Amitabh Battu, you've drawn a parallel possibly between what we saw in Bangladesh a year ago and what we are now seeing in Nepal. Youth protesters hitting the streets, challenging what they see is an aging, decrepit, corrupt leadership, and demanding answers to key issues like joblessness and misgovernance. Is that how you see Nepal at the moment? That this is a unique protest even compared to previous unrest. This is a protest primarily driven by the youth, against corruption and misgovernance and joblessness?
Rajdeep, the first parallel between Bangladesh and Nepal is that sadly, despite all the expertise in the Ministry of External Affairs, we had no anticipation that these events were going to unfold. Bangladesh happened behind our back. No one that I know of spoke about what was going to be the biggest uprising in Nepal since living memory, really. Never have you seen young people on the streets of Nepal violently protesting against the ruling regime, catalyzed by a ban, a short sighted ban on social media applications, and every district of Nepal is today impacted. The second parallel is, of course, the easy way to build a conspiracy theory that there are other elements, as you pointed out, who might be fishing in these troubled waters. That may or may not be the point. It may be the case in this case. The important thing is, why did this happen? First of all, you recognize that Nepal's biggest source of its GDP is remittances from abroad. Nearly a quarter of Nepal's GDP is based on people who have left Nepal sending money abroad. So, what's happening is there's an exodus of young people, and those who have stayed back are on the streets. It's a completely dysfunctional economy, a dysfunctional polity. Young people who could be the demographic dividend are suddenly become the demographic nightmare because they see a system which has betrayed them, a political regime which inspires no confidence. And if there is a parallel, is that, and I hope that's not a parallel, is that India has to be extremely cautious about how it approaches Nepal. Remember, the street protests in Bangladesh quickly turned into an anti India vehicle. In Nepal, our ties are much more proximate in every sense of the word: civilizational, cultural, open borders, shared rivers. It's important that we engage without being patronizing, that we engage all actors, especially the young people of Nepal, and that we do so in a manner in which we respect the sensitivities of the people of Nepal. I think it's important for Nepal to understand that
Can
India is a benign neighbor which will only help to try and stabilize Nepal. I think finally, Rajdeep, I think the most important point is that despite the chaos and anarchy, the Nepalese army, which used to be the Royal Nepalese Army or the Gorkhali Army, is today still unified as a force. And you have had the chief of the army staff come out clearly against the violence and the anarchy on the streets. I have great faith in the Nepali army. I think it is a force which can still manage to inject a modicum of stability even while things seem lost on the ground.